to tell us if any of the president's proposals has a chance of passing the Republican-controlled House of Representatives is Democratic Congresswoman Rosa of Connecticut's 3rd District. Representative DeLauro is joining us from Washington. Welcome inside the War Room.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Governor. It's wonderful to be with all of you tonight.
Well, glad to have you there. I know there's a lot going on right now, but first of all, let me just start by talking about the gun safety proposals. What ones do you expect the president to announce tomorrow?
Well, I am hopeful that what those recommendations will include is, one, the assault on the ban on assault weapons, and also the ban on the high-capacity magazines, the feeding devices. And third, I would like to see that we close the loopholes on the background checks. I would very, very much like to see, as a part of this effort, and I don't know what it will be about, is that everyone has talked about mental health services. Does that mean we're going to look at increased resources for mental health services? So those are the areas that I would like to see covered, and my hope is that by executive order that the president would be able to encourage the Centers for Disease Control to begin to collect the data on injuries and fatalities from firearms, the way they do on motor vehicles and prescription drugs, which is, isn't legally prohibited, but the writer, that language has had a chilling effect on the research.
Well, we hope that all of those things are proposed and that they are also passed. And I'm wondering, you're there in the House, and everybody has talked about whether the House will pass any of the bans, the ban on high-capacity magazines, the ban on assault weapons, or even closing of the gun show loophole. For those three, can any of those get through the House of Representatives?
I think what we have to have is a fundamental understanding of what our job is here. We are here because the people in our communities have entrusted us with working on their behalf. Today, Washington Post poll says 58% of the people in this nation say, let's have a ban on assault weapons. 88% say, let us close down the gun show loopholes. We are not here for whatever our own individual political philosophy or direction is. We are here because we represent this nation. And above all, when the president said so poignantly that Sunday night in Newtown, that when we asked the question, are we protecting our children in this nation, he said we had to admit to ourselves that we are not. And we have to move to protect our children from all kinds of violence. That's what our job is here today. And quite frankly, the public ought to be looking very carefully to see who is doing what here in order to protect them and their families.
Well, totally agree. Preach it, sister. I just hope that your colleagues on the other side of the aisle are going to be listening. Of course, now, I know, but you've got to, I hope that he puts it up for a vote. Well, I just pray that Boehner puts it up for a vote.
Right. But my God, imagine if he doesn't. How insensitive to the needs, the crying needs of this innocent slaughtered.
Right. And of course, this is your state. I know you feel it deeply. The president, as you mentioned, said that he might use executive orders if Congress fails to act. There's some who say in Congress, in legislative bodies, that that's just circumventing Congress. Obviously, there have been people who've talked about impeaching the president if he goes around Congress. I'm assuming that you're okay with the president going around an obstructionist group.
Well, I think the following. As you know, what will happen is that we can accomplish some things by executive order, and there'll be some of the items that need to go through a legislative process. My hope is that people who are speaking out now, even before the recommendations are laid out there, will take a step back and look at what is in the best interest of American families and America's children. That is what needs to be the guiding principle here as to how we get it done.
Well, you're also debating another Sandy issue, which is Hurricane Sandy. Your colleagues in the House will vote tonight, I think, on this $51 billion Hurricane Sandy aid package. Do you think it's going to pass this time, and if so, why?
Well, I'm optimistic that it will pass, and that is because, again, in order to address the great challenge of, and you understand this as being a governor of a state, that there are certain things, disasters occur, no one is responsible for them. And at that moment when the challenges are overwhelming in people's lives, whether they've lost their homes, their business, and some lost their lives, and their lives are upended, that in fact there is a role for the federal government to play. And as a Congress, over the years, whether it has been Katrina, Ike, Andrew, we have come together in a bipartisan way to pass the appropriations that would provide relief to these families. It's unconscionable to me that people in the Northeast, in New York and in New Jersey and Connecticut, are being held hostage when all of us participated in what we believed was the right thing to do to help families in great need to be able to meet the challenges and to rebuild their lives. That's all we're asking for tonight.
And you have some confidence that it will pass?
I'm optimistic that it will pass, yes.
All right. Very good. Well, Representative Rosa DeLauro, thank you so much for fighting for the people of Connecticut and fighting for the families, and not just the folks in Connecticut, but the families, the parents who see that their children are not safe. Thank you for standing up. Appreciate you coming inside.